What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and welcome to today's video, which I am going to help all of you get a sneak peek at what the true sleepers are in this upcoming 2019 draft class pre-combine. You might be thinking to yourself, why should I listen to C4? You know, I know he has a lot of draft content, but why should I listen to him about sleepers? Why should I make a gamble on a guy and look like an idiot potentially in front of my friends if they don't pan out? Well, I have a history of hitting on some sleepers. Now, sleepers, obviously, I've left out a lot of the ones that I've missed out on. It's pretty tough to predict what a sleeper is, but I've had a lot of success dating back to when I first started doing draft content back in 2013. From that 2013 class, these sleepers defined as other guys that I go really, really late that I think are going to be really good, guys that I think are incredibly undervalued at their position, you know, sleepers. So starting in 2013, we had Keenan Allen, Jordan Poyer, Rex Burkhead, and Jordan Reed. In 2014, we had Derek Carr, Trey Burton, and Allen Hurns. And you might be saying, Derek Carr, you got drafted kind of high. I thought he was going to be the most successful quarterback from that class. Looks like that was correct. In 2015, my best year to date, I had Stephon Diggs, Zach Zenner, Adrian Amos, and Shaq Mason. In 2016, we had Robbie Anderson, Brian Poole, and Jordan Howard. In 2017, a little bit of a down year, but I did like Samson Ebukam and Chase Roulier, and Roulier now a starting center for the Washington Redskins. And then in last year, in 2018, we had J.C. Jackson from Maryland, Mark Andrews, and Gennard Avery. So not that bad of a, you know, reference, a working sheet. You know, we did all right. We've done all right in years past. I think this year is going to be no different. So what we're going to do is kind of quickly, I'm going to try to not hold you guys up here for 38 minutes, go through my top 10 sleepers for this upcoming draft class, and guys that you probably will see it a lot in my Philadelphia Eagle mock draft, because obviously guys that I think that are going to be value picks, I'm going to want my team to pick, but ultimately you guys should maybe take an extra look at these guys, especially if they're at positions of needs for your respected teams. First up at number 1, we'll start the quarterbacks, and I have Tyree Jackson from Buffalo, currently projected to go second, third round. When you look at him, first of all, first thing that jumps out the page is his size at 6'7", 245. He had a really good Senior Bowl, and I do think if he goes to the right team with the right scheme, he is going to develop and hit that ceiling that I think he has, maybe more so higher than most of the quarterbacks in this year's draft class. Now, the big glaring thing with Tyree Jackson is that 55% completion percentage in his college career, which is what a lot of people like to use as an indicator to whether or not if you're going to be successful in the National Football League or not. But when I look at it, is the ceiling is there. As long as he doesn't go to a garbage team that has just no history of developing quarterbacks, the upside is way, way better of an investment than, say, drafting at the top end in the first round in what is a notoriously weak class. Every day of the week, give me Tyree Jackson in the third round, then say Drew Lock or Dwayne Haskins in the first. Going to number 2, I have Elijah Holyfield, who's currently projected to go anywhere between the 3rd and the 5th round. We'll call him a 4th round prospect. 5'11", 215 pounds. When you look at him, he is jacked to the gills. He is built like a power back, but moves like a prototypical 2019 NFL runner. Now, the only thing about his game that's a big question is, can he develop as a receiver? And from what limited catches I have seen, he doesn't have awful hands. I think that the upside is there. Obviously, the son of legendary boxer Evander Holyfield, he has just elite genetics, a prototypical play style. When you look at the wear and tear, he is fresh. He only has 200 career carries, which is why I think he might slip ahead behind some of the other guys that have more prolific college careers. But I think in that 4th round, if you want to start looking at guys that could be the next Kareem Hunt, the next Alvin Kamara, the next Devontae Freeman, look no further than Elijah Holyfield. Prospect number 3 is another running back, Bruce Anderson. 5'11", 210 pounds, out of North Dakota State, currently projected to go anywhere from the 6th round to undrafted free agent. He got absolutely robbed of a scouting combine invite, but when I look at Bruce Anderson, you see production. Last year averaged 7.5 yards per carry, 17 yards per catch, prototypical running back in the 2019 NFL world. He can catch, he can pass block, he can run, he can be a home run hitter. He has elite and underrated, I think, agility. He was the primary kick returner for most of North Dakota State's games. The wear and tear is another thing. He's played for 4 years, but only averaged about 100 touches per season. So he's going to come in as a fresh, underrated, undervalued prospect that I think a lot of teams should be looking at the tail end of the draft of snapping him up, because he is going to make a final 53. Go to number 4, we have Hakeem Butler, who's currently projected to go anywhere between low 2nd to 4th round. At 6'6", 225, he kind of right now is getting lumped in with busts, big wide receivers that have not panned out. Devin Funchess, Kelvin Benjamin, Dorial Green Beckham. But those guys' biggest issue was they just lacked that top-tier athletic ability that could give them and yield them separation at the next level. You know, you got to be a little bit more than just a red zone jump ball specialist in today's NFL to be worthy of that high draft pick. And I think that's where Hakeem Butler separates, because he does have that wow factor. Now, I'm not going to put any of his highlight reel catches, because every time I use real footage nowadays, my video gets flagged and taken down. But all you got to do is just a quick YouTube search. You're going to see why he is a human highlight reel. You're going to see a lot of loose hips for a guy of that size. You're going to see a guy that definitely does not struggle to get separation and doesn't just rely on his size to get said separation, which I think is going to translate very well to the next level. And I think personally, even though I'm a huge fan of DK Metcalf, that jacked monster, huge fan of N'Keal Harry, there is a chance that Hakeem Butler has the most upside in this class to be that wide receiver 1 when all is said and done. And the fact that you can get him at 2 rounds cheaper than a N'Keal Harry or DK Metcalf, that is unbelievable value. Go to number 5, another wide receiver. We have Keelan Doss from UC Davis, 6'3", 210, currently projected to go in the 5th or 6th round. You look at him, he has elite production, over 4,000 receiving yards throughout his career. Obviously, level of competition is a concern, but man, we need to start kind of throwing that out just a little bit. Don't throw it completely out, because it is somewhat valid. But for the most part, how many times are these small school prospects that are going to continually succeed in the National Football League get undervalued? We saw it with Cooper Kupp. We saw it, I guess, to an extent with Carson Wentz, for those of you that are completely on the Wentz over Goff bandwagon. And I think, you know, a guy like Keelan Doss is going to go in the mid-rounds, even though he played well at the Senior Bowl, and he's going to start as a rookie. You know, he's an above-average athlete for his big, long frame, and I think he is one of the best route runners in this draft class, and that is an underrated aspect, because sometimes you're so in love of a DK Metcalf because of what he brings from an athletic standpoint. He just doesn't have the route running ability because he's only been a limited starter and only played a little bit of college football, versus a guy like Keelan Doss that can run every route in the tree, and that is going to give him an edge over some of these bigger, more athletic-based players. Going to number 6, another wide receiver. We have Emmanuel Butler, who's currently projected to go in the 6th round to undrafted free agent out of Northern Arizona. 6'4", 220 pounds, a powerful yak reception wide receiver. You know, those yards after the catch, he can go inside, he can go in the slot. I literally just think he's straight up a better version from an athletic standpoint and better value than like an A.J. Brown from Ole Miss. A lot of people think A.J. Brown, 1st, 2nd round, somewhere in that territory. Yeah, he's really good, he's a slot, but I think for a value pick, give me a guy like Emmanuel Butler that can clearly be built to get that ball across the middle field, and just once the ball's in his hands, looks like a running back, but also can translate on the outside, where I think a guy like A.J. Brown might not translate as much so in the National Football League. Big, powerful wide receivers that can get separation. Obviously, level of competition, he's got to get slept on. Don't think he was invited to the Combine, which is annoying, but I think he will stand out at his pro day and definitely help out his draft stock. Going to number 7, jumping to the defensive side. First up is T.J. Edwards, the linebacker from Wisconsin, currently with a 5th, 6th round grade. Over his career at Wisconsin, he has elite linebacking production. And I think from a skill standpoint, he brings everything you want in almost like a modern-day NFL linebacker. But the fact that a lot of people have the consensus that it probably is true, that he's not going to test particularly well, which therefore is going to give him a reputation of being a bad athlete. And then when you're a bad athlete, well, clearly you can't cover. And the NFL is moving to a passing league, right? And if you can't cover, you're pretty much dead in the water, and your value is going to be very limited as a early down linebacker. That doesn't really translate for T.J. Edwards. He has 10 interceptions over his career, and yeah, while he may have some athletic limitations, a high football IQ and a good, quick first read can compensate all. So I think someone is going to get a guy here in the day 3 range that could very well and should most likely crack a final 53 and has upside to be your future starting middle linebacker. Sticking to the linebackers, pretty much same type of positives and negatives. I have Cameron Smith from USC, 5th to 7th round grade, because I think he might actually test a little bit worse athletically than T.J. Edwards, but because he has this mantra that he's an average athlete or a bad athlete, it's going to have him slip, but he has the production, he has a very, very high football IQ, and a very quick reactor. Those are the traits, some of the intangibles that a lot of these good athletes at linebackers simply won't possess, will never possess, or will take a long time to eventually possess. He has these traits coming right out the box, and the way that he played for USC, he literally looks like if Luke Kuechly was just a shitty athlete. So because of that, clearly, you know, with that limitations, you are going to slip just a little bit, but when you have so much else to give to a defense, I see a guy like Cameron Smith being like this year's Josie Jewell. Like, Josie Jewell slipped because he was a limited athlete from Iowa, but everyone knew he was good, and look, he eventually ended up making some plays and playing a lot of games for the Denver Broncos as a rookie. That is going to be Cam Smith this season. Going to number 9, we have Jimmy Moreland from James Madison, cornerback, currently projected to go 6th round to undrafted free agent. Biggest thing about him is his size. The size limitations, 5'10", 175. People are going to go, oh my God, that's small. And he's from a small school prospect. I don't know. When you watch him play, though, he definitely plays a lot bigger than what his size tells you on paper. He has unbelievable production. 200 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, 18 interceptions, 63 pass breakups, and 6 defensive touchdowns in his career for James Madison. You cannot deny that production. I personally believe that he's going to be the next budget nickel corner that ends up starting year 2 minimum. I think he has a very, very high ceiling. And any team out there that needs a pure nickel corner, look no further than Jimmy Moreland late in the draft. So then at number 10, I'm kind of having a cop-out. There's a lot of prospects that I really do like in this year's draft class that are getting no attention whatsoever or getting completely undervalued. So number 10 is going to kind of quickly be a rapid fire of my best of the rest. We have at wide receiver Stanley Morgan Jr. from Nebraska, as well as wide receiver Preston Williams from Colorado State. At tight end, we have Dawson Knox from Ole Miss. At defensive tackle, we have Ricky Walker from Virginia Tech. We have 2 defensive ends. First, Jalen Jelks from Oregon, and second, Jesse Anabonham from Maryland. At linebacker, Terrell Hanks from New Mexico State. At corner, we have 2, one in Brian Peavy from Iowa State. Our second is Clifton Duck from Appalachian State. And then we have 2 safeties. First up, Darnell Savage from Maryland, who I actually think is starting now to get a little bit more momentum behind his name. He's going to be a very, very nice pickup as a safety. I think I had him in my second Eagles mock draft that unfortunately had to get taken down because copyright. And then last we got Mark Maclaurin from Mississippi State. Big, rangy safety, lots of production in the SEC. But of course, athletic concerns is what has him slipping. So those are all of my sleepers, but I love hearing your guys' sleepers, especially these small school guys that might not be popping up. I always have more time than not to kind of deviate to looking at more films. So if there's any sleepers that I missed, let me know. But definitely, guys, if you've never heard of some of these prospects, go check them out. And if they, like I said, at the very top of the video, if they are at positions of need for your favorite team, maybe start diving into a little bit of tape and kind of look like the smart friend amongst your fans and friends when it comes to talking about the draft and your favorite team. Thank you guys for watching today's video. As always, if it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow, we bring back another episode of the Retro Rebuilds, so make sure you don't miss out on that. And until next time, guys, it's C4 saying peace out.